Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam J. Pestridge and welcome to another Microsoft Flight video. So today we're going to look at the menu system for Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm going to show you every possible thing about the menu system, but the one thing I won't go into is how to build up a cache on your hard drive. But I will show you how to set controls and, you know, what are kind of like what each feature does, what each slider does for your sim, as I feel that there is actually there's no documents explaining this at all. Asobo Studios really haven't given us any documentation to help us with the menu systems, and I see a lot of people online, in forums, in Facebook groups, really struggling with like frame rates and their PC hardware. If you haven't already seen the specs for what this sim can handle, please do so and find out where you sit, because it's the difference between you hating the sim and you enjoying the sim. There are 4 different quality levels in this sim. There is low, there is medium, there is high, and there is ultra, and it really is going to depend on your monitor and your PC as to which of these you will select, and we'll get into that in a moment. Of course, as you all know, I was on the alpha team, studied that from the very beginning, and you know, an alpha product of any kind is very different from a final release, and the difference in this sim between the alpha and the final release is immense. Like, there is so much that has been corrected, so much that has been fixed. The Asobo Studios have really listened to the community, I feel, of alpha testers, and implemented the changes that they saw with the community feedback. They've been very good at that, and it has made the sim a lot more bearable. Like, this is the full release build we're looking at, and I have used it, and it is a lot better than what I used currently in the alpha. But that's what an alpha is designed to do. It's designed to get all the bugs out and streamline it and make it a lot better for the release. So the buggier the alpha is, surely then the better a release can be. But I mean, to be honest, that's only if you have real proper professional testers. You know, I think Asobo slightly slipped up when they invited the sim community to test the alpha. In what they actually should have done was, instead of trying to get money off the community, they should have tried to spend money into hiring professionals to test this. You know, professional pilots. I'm sure they have had professional pilots, but testers, professional testers as well, because they know how to test, and gamers and simmers, they don't know how to test. No offense, guys, but everybody who was on the alpha was looking at it from a gamer or a simmer point of view, and very few people on the alpha were professional testers, you know. And I feel like if they had professional testers in the sim, it probably wouldn't be as frustrating as it is now. Okay. Anyway, again, we'll get into that later. Remember, guys, this sim is in very early days, okay? And it needs to find its feet. See, a lot of frustration and a lot of people, you know, really hating on this. And everybody thinks I hate on this. I've never actually hated on it. I've only ever given cautionary tales of its Achilles heel, which I still stand by. I've never changed my mindset on that. I do think it's an okay sim, you know, but I don't think it's a fully in-depth sim like, say, P3D or X-Plane yet. But it will get there if everybody supports it, and it needs everyone's support for it to get to that stage. You know, what Asobo has done is they've given us the skeletal structure for third-party developers to build on. Now, the impression they may have given at the beginning of their advertising for the sim might have been different to what we have now, but what we have now is a great VFR sim with general aviation aircraft. You know, it is beautiful for that. That's what I usually use it for. It doesn't have the systems in depth as, say, with the commercial airliners. It has okay systems fidelity, but They're very frame rate hungry as well, so you might find you have to change a lot of settings just to get the airliners working. For me, I'll still be using P3D for the airliners, and I'll probably just use Microsoft Flight Simulator for the GA aircraft. What I definitely won't be doing though is getting rid of current simulators, like uninstalling, giving away, completely deleting, and handing like accounts over. I've seen people handing their like accounts over to other people, like, here, I'm done with P3D, you can have everything. I'm like, whoa, dude, you just nuked yourself. Like, you seriously, like, you've put all your eggs in this basket. And I'm not saying it will, but if this was to fold, dude, you've got to start all over again if you want to continue to flight sim. Because as soon as this folds, which I hope to God it doesn't, but if it ever does, you won't get to use it. Right? Yeah, you might have downloaded a few regions, on your PC, but the one main difference between this and any other flight sim is that Asobo Studios runs this simulator, not you guys. You guys just simply use the simulator, but they run it, which means if it does flop and fail, which I'm hoping it doesn't, and I don't think it will if the community back it, but if it ever did, you wouldn't get access to the world anymore. That's it, you're locked out because you don't have it on your PC. You haven't bought the world they've created, you've bought the doorway into it, and that's all you've got now sitting on your PC, which they can lock off if they want to. Now, I'm sure there's hackable ways around anything, but at the end of the day, legally, that's it, you're nuked. Which means if you want to continue to flight sim and you've given everything else away, you're gonna have to start buying everything again. So I urge people, please do not start getting rid of your current simulations. Like, delete them off your hard drive if you need the space, but I would cautionary that with P3D, because P3D is come from FSX at the end of the day. It's basically FSX2, okay? And it's unless you know what you're doing, it can be a very frustrating simulator. But if you do know what you're doing, it's a beautiful simulator, X-Plane is more, easier, user-friendly in that respect. But P3D is equally as great if you know what you're doing. Now, none of that, and I'm talking about like scenery library and, being able to install any aircraft and be able to change the CFG files and all that, none of that is available in the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yes, you can buy add-ons through the marketplace, which is kind of like the new scenery library. But you can't just insert your own. You can't just suddenly go, I want to take this plane from P3D or FSX or whatever and insert it in. Presently, right now, as I'm talking, that is not possible. So unless it does become possible, then this is not exactly a tailored, customizable sim. This is not like you can have it your way. It's either Asobo's way or the highway, guys. That's really what it is. Anyway, let's just, one thing as well is that you've got to understand there is a difference between Microsoft Flight Simulator and, say, P3D, which is the other sim I don't use, X-Plane, so I don't know about that, but there are differences between these two. So if you're coming in trying to use it like you would P3D, you're going to find it's a different beast altogether. If you're coming in thinking with the mindset of flight simulation in all aspects, again, you're going to be disappointed. Really need to come in with this very lightheartedly at the beginning without trying to do serious flights, just have fun, just get used to the control system, get used to the way it works, then start your flying seriously. Because if you do try serious flights, serious streams, whatever, recordings, you might find it's more frustrating than fun. So just have fun, go with the flow for now, get used to it. And then maybe Christmas time next year, that's when we'll really see the full potential of this, Anyway, let's get straight into the menu. I've been rambling for long enough. So on the main menu here, you've got your account now. The name thing here at the top, which you probably you can't read my name, but you know, for alpha people, we were given a name to us, which was the Microsoft account name. Now you can change that if you don't like it. You can head over and sign in on the Microsoft website, and you can actually change your gamer tag. Okay, either the Xbox gamer tag or the Microsoft Game Pass account. Sorry, not Game Pass. Microsoft account gamer tag, and it will change that to whatever you want, but you can only do it once. So if you have already changed it, you won't be able to change it again. And anything, then you've got your friends list here. Click that, and you know, you'll have all your friends who are either online or offline, and you can actually join them as well, which is a pretty neat feature. You can add friends, but you can't search for friends. So what you would do to add a friend is you would type the name in here. Now let's just type in anything, and I'll show you what I mean. So well, let's look for, yeah, Sarouj, right? Do you remember him? Yeah. Send it. Invitation failed. Unless you get this correctly, you won't be able to send an invitation. You have to spell it exactly right with capitals and lowercase, and then it'll say invitation sent, and then you know you've got the right person. It doesn't actually tell you if you've got the wrong person. So if two people have very similar names, you could be inviting or adding a friend that you don't know. But there is no there's no Google predicted text on it where you start typing a name and then suddenly it drops down with a list of possibilities, data protection or something. But that one, you have to get the name exactly, send, and only when it says invitation sent do you know you've got the right person. But it's pretty cool. It also means you can do group flights, you know, which is a really nice feature. But remember, this is an always live world anyway. Okay, so let's get into the world map as well. So here's the world map, and basically it's Google Earth, isn't it? And then you just zoom into where you want to fly. Now, looking at the world initially, you'll see you've got yellow, and you've also got these crosshair, and then you've also got these pins, right? And it's like, what does it all mean? Well, these yellow tags are basically what's in your pack. So I've got the standard edition, so all of these are from the standard edition. Now, if you've got the premium edition, you'll have a lot more yellow tags everywhere because there are more airports, and all of them are airports. Now, these ones here are just the sort of lower ones, like the lower level ones, but still worthwhile, you know, still worth a check. And obviously, the more you zoom in, the more become available. You can see these very faint, I don't know if you can see them, but there's very faint white dots everywhere, okay, which are very pin thing. And if you zoom in, they're actually airports. They're airfields or airports, and you zoom in and you can actually see it properly. So the more you zoom in, the more detail is revealed, and that's so true of the sim as well. The more closer you go to the ground, the more detail suddenly appears in the sim. It's like a layered level of quality. Now these pins here, these are more pins of interest more than anything. So if you wanted to go see, I saw the Houses of Parliament there, drive past that, that's pretty cool. The best feature of all that I don't remember seeing in the alpha was the search bar. So if you want to go see some elephants, you can just type in elephants and it'll come up where the elephants actually are at the moment. So you go Bugna, and if you go flying around here, if you set that as your departure and go flying around here, you will see elephants, okay? And it'll most likely be in this circle. If you go flying in this circle, you'll see them. Now, if you want to see all of the animals and that, if you just type in fauna, it comes up with a whole list of animals that you can go see and where they are, which is pretty cool. So you can do like safari adventures, you know, in the sim, rather than say full flights, which is a neat feature. I think it's pretty cool. So that's, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's really easy. You literally, so like, let's see here, pick a location, right? Set that as your departure, okay? Pick another location, set that as the arrival. It automatically generates your flight plan, but you can also change that as well. You can say, well, I'd rather have it VOR, to be honest. And no, I'd rather have it VOR. Oh, it's unavailable as VOR. Oh, okay. Well, let's try low altitude airways then. There we go, and it automatically builds your flight plan. Now, the good thing about this this whole thing is that it's completely customizable. So let's say, for instance, you go from here and you want to incorporate this airport. You click on it, you click add, and automatically it's added or altered your flight plan, and you can do it anywhere along the route. Now, if you don't wish to see all the navigational aids, there is a place in the menu where you can actually disable them, and you can just see the airports. And I'll show you that in the thing as well. So your flight plan is available here. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy. It's a lot more customizable than you think, but it's also very easy. You can even, if you wanted to, just take off from like a custom marker. So if you wanted to set an actual marker, you can just go in, custom, set as departure, go fly, and you'll take off from wherever this pin is. Like, I don't know where it is, but your airplane will just appear in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't have to be taken off from an airport or an airfield or a runway, which I find is pretty cool. If you wanted to go see the Sahara dunes in the middle of nowhere, you could literally just whack your plane in there, custom, departure, and you'll be there, in the middle of nowhere. That is a neat feature as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I love the day and night thing, so you can always be flying in the daytime if you want to see the landscape, but if you want to do it real time, you can. Now, up here in the corner under flight conditions is where you set everything. Now, I find it best to have this one clicked, all players, because if you click live players, you will not see people. If you've created a group and you're in a group, you won't see everybody. You might not actually see your group members, which I did experience that. But if you click all players, you will see them no matter what. Unless, of course, they've actually stated, off group only, which if everybody puts it to all players, everybody will see everybody, and you have the option to choose either the AI traffic in the sim, no traffic in the sim, or live traffic, which I think live is always best. Same with the weather, go with live, but you can also customize it. Now, if you choose live players, you can't customize the weather in time. It's locked off, okay, because it's now locked off to whatever time it is in your region. So, if like right now it is 11:25, and so it is 11:25 in the sim. I can't change that. Whereas if everybody chose all players, you can have whatever customizable weather you want. You can have completely stormy weather when your other players don't have stormy weather, and so that for me is a lot better. So basically that is the world map. Okay. Of course, in the world map, you can select your airplane here, as well, which pretty easy, pretty standard. Okay. Now these landing challenges, I'm a little bit confused on because there are landing challenges in the activities, but this one I think is like a tournament, is an ongoing live event as it states, but like is open to the community. But the thing is, so are all those other challenges. So I'm guessing that this is going to be swapped out on like maybe a monthly, process. But the thing is, the alpha and the beta leaderboards were not carried over. I actually got a score of 1.9 million when I first tried it. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't know the scoring system was in millions. I just thought that's a lot of points until I saw the leaderboard. And I was like, whoa, I'm top of the leaderboard. Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, when it went into beta, that leaderboard got wiped. So did my thing. So I actually need to redo this. But I mean, I did it on my first go because I didn't know what I was doing. Landed it perfectly, I guess. But I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. You'll know if I do it because it'll replace it here. But it may get wiped, is what I'm saying. This thing isn't like guaranteed. Which, unlike this one, if you go into activities and you go to landing challenges, you have 3 different types. And if you go to the famous ones, you've got these 8 here. There's only 1 page. I wish there were like a bit more around the world, but this is enough. So like, this is a good one to test your system for stability of frames, but as you can see, 1.8 million is the highest. I think 200 something I am down there, like 900,000 points or something I got. But yeah, this one's really fun. So again, I don't know why there is one that's separate from all the others, but I'm guessing that one's like going to be highlighted over time or something. I don't know. But these are really cool. I use this one to test out my frames when I'm changing settings. So if you're doing some experiments, which I highly recommend you to do, because everyone's PC is going to be different. So please experiment with the settings you've got. Try everything knocked off and see what it looks like. See how it flies, you know, in both a Cessna 152 and a Citation jet. Because once you put glass cockpits into the sim, your frames do take a bite for some reason. I'm guessing an update will fix that. But if you don't use glass cockpits, you have better frame rates. But yeah, I go in here just to test out the settings. I use the Cessna, like the airplane it says here, but this is the challenge that I use when I've changed a setting to see how it flies. So those are your activities. Again, you've got two different types. You've got bush trips that you can make as well. You know, there's only 3 of them at the moment. But in the activities and the landing challenges, you've got 3 different types of landing challenges. All have 8 inside and all are equally fun. I can't wait to do them, to be honest, in a video in the future. So that's these 2. This one is more of a news column thing. You know, there's only 2 at the moment, but these are exactly what it says: news, feedback, and support. So anything that they want to tell us, that they will drop right here, you know. That's their communication to us. That's basically the newsletter, guys. Okay. And of course, flight training. Now this is ace because in the alpha we only had, I think the first 4 of these were the only ones we could do. But I'm looking forward now to going through this. If you're new to flight simulation, I really suggest going through this. Super helpful, you know, to learn the basics and controls of flights. And so when you actually go into the sim with your buddies, you actually know what you're doing and can keep up with them, you know. So that's basically everything in this main menu. Now we're going to have a look at these 3 tabs up here: options, marketplace, and profile. We'll go to the marketplace first. Now this is going to get fuller and fuller as time goes on, and it is customizable. So there are options to filter out certain things. If you have an update, which I'm sure there has been since it launched, it can change things for the better, for the worse, whatever, but it can change things. It's not in your control, guys. It's Asobo who updates it, and you can't suddenly go, actually, I don't want that update. You know, it's not in your control anymore. Whereas with previous sims like P3D, if you didn't want to add the hotfix, or if you didn't want to add a certain update to like 0.2, 0.3, whatever, you didn't have to. You could stick with this current one you've got. If it works, don't break it. It's not like that anymore, guys. If they can just change things on the fly to our sim, and that'll be that. So all of the add-ons in this marketplace are managed by the developers. Once you go in and you purchase and buy it, the updating of it is now in the hands of the developers. So if they change it to something you don't like, or if they alter, there's nothing you can do about it. It's totally out of your hands. All these add-ons are okay, but I would say don't rush in to buy things just yet, because some add-ons are a little bit below par. They're more or less ports. I'm not going to say who, but they're more or less ports of current sims, not brand new ones. But if you want to just like get past all this thing here, click on official content, and you can actually now filter things, you know. So if you just want to look at aircraft, for instance, there you go. Or if you want to see what landmarks there are, you know. This one I would suggest getting. It's only like £6.70, but it does put in, which is a bit confusing because these should already be in the sim already, but it does put in some really nice, lovely buildings into London, like real nice landmarks that if you're flying sort of IRL, then you'll want to have some landmarks to, or even VFR, you'll want some landmarks to guide you, you know. Airports here, local, international, I mean, they're all here. You can even search by developers. There's not many at the moment, but there will be more to come. definitely, and you can see which ones you've got installed, which were on promotion, which are a bundle. Obviously, you can upgrade. I have the Game Pass version. I spent £1 buying the Game Pass, so I paid £1 for the first month, and then I'll pay $3.99 for every month thereafter until it actually goes up to $7.99. Now, when it rises to $7.99, I will most likely upgrade. If I feel it's going to stay, I will then spend over 50 quid. If I don't feel it's going to stay, man, I might as well just spend £4 a month, because like even in 6 months, that's less than 20 quid. So I'm totally happy at the moment with the Game Pass version. The difference of the airports, I'm sure you're going to be able to purchase those airports anyway, but the difference in planes for me is negligible. I like flying commercial jets. There's only one commercial jet difference between the standard and the premium deluxe, which actually, this is premium upgrade, and that's 84 quid. This is premium deluxe, and it's less money. Which one's the better one? Because you would think this one is, because it's premium deluxe upgrade, but this one's more expensive, and it's only the premium upgrade. Guys, this is the thing. It's such a confusing sim. You know what I mean? It's new though. That's the thing. Anyway, that's the marketplace. Good there. If you get your profile, this is a burn, because this used to say 10 hours for me. Actually, no, sorry, 50 hours. Now it's been reset. So again, that was on the alpha. Yeah, this is really charting your progress. Tells you exactly what you've done. You know, there's stats here. This is pretty cool. You know, it'll tell you achievements that you've done, and any badges you've earned. And this is the little bit of fun that I like. The sim to have. I don't want it totally serious, devoid of fun. So I do like this. You got your hangar where your airplanes sit. Workhorse, you can change either your livery, or you can change your aircraft and choose whichever one you want, and then it loads in, and there you go. Just like that. And of course, if you go here, up here, you can actually, you know, have a view of it like that. Push the middle mouse button and you can swing it around like that. And how fast you can swing the thingy, by the way, is a good test on how good your graphics card and your PC sits with the sim. If you can't do this, then you might want to think about upgrading your PC. Or, you know, I would say, why did you even install it if your PC is not up to scratch? But if you want as well, you can just go inside and have a look at the systems in here. You'll always get great frame rates in here, by the way, because it's in a confined area. This actually looks like the Ice Pilot's hangar, but you'll always get great frames in these aircraft. So if you go into the 747 cockpit, it will be just the same. Or you can have like a little demonstrational thing. The demonstrational plane is in higher quality and has depth of field blur, as opposed to when you just do this, you don't get all that. You don't get that depth of field blur, and it you know, it doesn't look as good, but you can zoom in, you know. So anyway, that's the hangar. You got a logbook as well, which is pretty cool. So it logs every flight you've ever done, which is cool. I do like that. It's brilliant. And that's your profile basically. That's it. Not much more to say on it really. The options, right, here we go. I'm going to put a time link as well into the bottom. So if you just wanted to skip straight to, then you can. So general tab. Now these are all the graphical settings. And when you first install your sim, Asobo asks you, like, we have already set your quality level based on your hardware. I really recommend sticking with that and going in and doing a landing challenge in a Cessna and seeing what performance you get. More often than not, you will find you have good performance, but it's a very average decision, and not one that I would choose myself. Now, that's what this is, global rendering quality. There are 4 options, 5 if you count the custom, but you have low, you have medium, you have high, and you have ultra. Now, think of it like this, guys. This will help you guide what to do within here. Okay, and again, don't copy other people's settings because they've got different hardware to what you've got, you know. But do your own experiments based off what I say here. Think of it like this: Ultra is for 4K, so the Ultra settings, right, will be applicable to a monitor or a TV that supports the 4K resolution, which means, let's say for instance, buildings. If I was to stick that on Ultra, that means the buildings will be in like 4K detail. Now, I'm on a 1080p monitor, guys. I am never going to see the quality of 4K because my monitor just doesn't support it. There will be a tiny difference between, say, Ultra and High, which is what I've got, a high definition telly. But it's very minimal, to be honest. I mean, to be honest, I put them on medium anyway. You know, buildings and trees, you got to think, in the sim, where are you going to see the most of? Probably the trees. So that's going to take the biggest frame rate hit. That's why I've got it on low. I mean, you could, like on some of these, you can actually turn it off, you know, but I mean, I don't know. You guys want to see a little bit of grass and bush, don't you? So, but yeah, definitely trees, grasses and bushes will take a very big performance hit because they're bloody everywhere. Trees everywhere. So yeah, definitely want low quality trees to aid performance, you know. But again, if you just don't want to bother with all this fanning about with all these settings, you can literally just go, right, Ultra, I've got a 4K monitor, Ultra, boom, done, and you're off. High, again, like I said, high definition. If you're on a 1080p monitor, you know, a lot of the settings are going to be relatable to high, but these also include your PC hardware. So Ultra is like the newest graphics cards, the latest, you know, CPU, memory, stuff like that. High, I would say within the last 2 years, you know. Medium, now medium's akin to like DVD resolution. Basically, it's your standard. Do you remember those TVs that were HD ready as opposed to being full HD? Well, that's kind of like your medium, you know. Like I have a monitor that's basically 720p, and that's what the medium setting would be. Also, if you've got a PC that's 3 to 4 or 5 years, that would be the medium setting as well. Low basically is if you're probably trying to run this off a laptop, or if you don't mind VHS quality graphics. You know, low I would just think of as, like I do with the trees and the grasses, there are loads of them, and so yeah, you want the quality coming down a little bit on that. Now, if you've got the best system in the world, if you're running this on the NASA computer, then you can probably have everything on Ultra. But I dare say there's only going to be a very small few handful of people that will be able to maintain a certain frame rate with that. Now, the way I have my graphic card set up, and I think setting up your graphics card as well is important, and I'll sort of go through that if you have an NVIDIA graphics card. It's important to set your graphics card up as well as your menu to your sim. You know, it's important to also align it with whatever monitor you have. Now, I have a 60 hertz monitor, which means the refresh rate on my monitor is 60 hertz. It's 60 times a second. The image can be rendered. Every second, 60 frames appear to produce the image. That's what my TV is capable of. It's not capable of 144 hertz, but it is capable of 50 hertz, 30, and 25. Now, what I do with my graphics card is I say output the resolution in 30 hertz, not 60 hertz. And what that does is actually limits what my PC is allowing applications to render at. It's only allowing it to render at 30 hertz, which means, to be honest, in all other apps and all other sims, I actually set like frame rate to 30 and it locks it to 30. And that means the extra processing power that my PC is capable of, once it's achieved a 30 frames a second level, the rest of it goes into the scenery, goes into the world. Now, Microsoft is a little bit different. I actually have to set this to 60 frames per second and have VSync on in order to get a smooth flying sim. If I set this to off, in other words, if I turn off the VSync capability, which means now my frame rate can be anything, it can be unlimited. Well, my PC is still limiting it to 30, and it actually gets choppy then. It gets really sort of micro stutters, and it's like, huh. So I actually do have to lock the VSync rate to the monitor and set the frame rate to 60, even though my graphics card will only allow 30, and I achieve 30 in the sim. Which means I know that my graphics card and my hardware on my PC is making that 30, but then also I can have some more settings here turned on, you know, which I'll go into now. So in terms of anti-aliasing, this is really going to depend on your system, guys. I'll get to render scaling in a minute, but anti-aliasing, again, align this with your graphics card. Have the similar or same settings, either say application controlled, in other words, you're letting the sim decide your level, or match it with whatever setting you put in here. TAA is the highest level, and it does take a massive hit. If you move this down to FXAA, which actually NVIDIA cards support, and which older sims support, you'll find that it might look a certain way in the sim, and you might go, actually, I don't like that. I've noticed that on DLAA, it kind of makes it look like it's got a film grain appearance to it. But on TAA, you don't see any jaggies whatsoever. Everything is like perfect, but it is a taxing setting. So only do it if you've really got a good PC. The rendering scale now, okay, so basically what this does is, like, well, in the description, like it says there, scale the resolution of 3D scene rendering. User interface is unaffected. It's the actual sim that is. It's at 100 by default. Now, if you actually turn this up to max, think of it like this. What is your PC capable of, and what is your TV set on? If you're seeing this on a 4K monitor and you have the hardware to support it, then you will want it set to 200. If you're on a 1080p display, you're never going to see the absolute detail difference between 200 and 150. So you might as well put it on 150 to save performance. If you're on a PC like mine, which was made like in the last 5 years, I mean, it's still a good one, but it is, 5 years old now, then you might want to knock it down to 100, like leave it on its default basically, because bringing this up to 150, you will lose frames. It doesn't look any more better though in the visual sense. So for me, 100 is the max, because 150 to 100 honestly makes no difference on a 1080p monitor. If you find that you still can't achieve a smooth flight, then maybe think about lowering it down. Anti-aliasing we've talked about. So terrain level of detail again. Now, of course, everybody wants it to look beautiful. Everybody wants to see crisp, sharp graphics, and at the best detail, but you've got to have the hardware to support it. So unless you're running like Henry Cavill's PC, you will have to lower this. Okay, now what I did is I turned everything off, right, and I set this terrain level of detail to low as well, right, to 0, and I went and looked at the sim, and then I turned it all the way up with nothing else turned on. The difference is big, like it's huge to what you actually see, yes. But when it's at 150 to what it's set at by default, 100, actually, the difference when combined with all the other settings is greater than when it's set at 100. Like, I notice a difference. I don't have a 4K monitor, so for me, putting this up to its full potential is pointless because I'm not going to see that extra detail. Okay, So you might as well just leave it at 150. That's good enough for high definition and for performance. Again, if you put this down to 100 with all your other settings turned on, you might not see a major difference until you turn all those settings off, and then you will. Okay, I've done loads of tests, guys. Loads of tests. Terrain vector data. Okay, so everybody knows what vector data is. Okay, this affects, like it says there, oceans, lakes, rivers, roads. It's the quality of the mesh that we're talking about now. You can actually adjust that data. In other words, do you want to see very subtle hills, you know, or do you want it to be a bit more flatter, you know? I obviously want it to be quite good, but again, there's no point in putting it on ultra. I don't have a 4K monitor, and I don't have Henry Cavill's PC. So for me, the next best thing is high. There is a huge performance to save between ultra and high, or sorry, between ultra and medium. But the visuals for me on high is where I want to be. Like I said, with buildings, trees, grasses, there's a lot of them in the sim. Think to yourself, what's the most important thing? Are you really wanting to see a lot more detailed trees? You know, have you got a 4K monitor? If you have got a 4K monitor with the PC to spare, if you're Henry Cavill, then put it on ultra, because you will see that detail. If you've got a 1080p monitor, putting it on ultra is a waste of your time, because that's the highest level of detail your monitor will let you see. But remember, there is loads of trees, there is loads of grass, and there's loads of bush. So for me, I turn them down to low, because like it's a massive performance save again. Buildings, I actually like, I've had that on ultra and they do look great even on my PC, my monitor, sorry. But to be honest, yes, this is a VFR sim, like, you know, for low flying, but yeah, I don't know. The performance you save with medium is greater than the resolution you gain on high for me. So medium is good enough, basically. Objects level of detail again here. So basically all that 3D objects, which, you know, it's kind of like it's kind of like these three rolled into one. But again, if you've got a 4K monitor, you can stick it on 200 if you have the PC to match. If you've got a 1080p monitor, 150 is good enough. Even default is good enough, to be honest, guys. Like, it's only if you put it down to 10 do you actually go, whoa, actually, yeah, I can see the difference now. So I stick at 150. Volumetric clouds, again, medium. I'm on a 1080p monitor, but I want the texture to be good, you know. I want it to be high. Anisotropic filtering, this is really going to depend on your system, and in my eyes, I feel it's better to have half of your super sampling to your anisotropic filtering. So don't try and match it. It's less taxing on the system and you really don't notice it if you choose half of whatever your anisotropic filtering is, and then in your graphics card just say application controlled to the sim. In other words, graphics card, you don't have to do anything, mate. The sim will do it for me, okay? You also get then a performance jig out of that. Now this texture synthesis is the only one I haven't actually played with a lot, so I've put it on medium as like a middle ground. It's basically where the Big Mac data has had to be changed, and they've actually gone in personally. Again, if you're on a 4K monitor, you'll go ultra, but me, I'm on 1080 and I haven't really tested it, so I'll go medium for now. I do want to see good waves, so I'll put that at high. And at the end of the day, it's only going to really make a difference performance wise when it's really choppy weather, when the waves are rolling. Now, shadows. I want to talk about shadows. These three here, as you can see, you're like, whoa, dude, that's like low settings. What's going on? Well, shadows are kind of like, you know, they don't have to be high quality settings, do they? Like, if you're flying at night, you're not going to see shadows, dude. It's pitch black, you know, unless you're like standing on the street next to a telephone pole and the moon is beaming all over you, then you might see a shadow. But to be honest, in an airplane up high, you ain't going to see shadows at night, you know, even with the moon out. So there's no point of having high shadows at night. But of course, we don't all fly at night. Some people fly during the day. So you do want shadows. But again, shadows are everywhere. They're like trees, okay? Light bounces off every single thing in the sim. So if you set your shadows to high or ultra, dude, you're just nuking your sim. It's really going to bring down performance. So for me, shadows on low, mate. Definitely shadows on low. And like, okay, I could turn that off, but I do actually want terrain shadows. But terrain shadows, there's two types. Well, there's three types really. There's your aircraft on the ground that you can see as a shadow, which, to be honest, if you're concentrating on the shadow of your aircraft, you're going to end up crashing your plane, okay? Then there's the shadow of the objects on the landscape, okay, which I think is more contact shadows than terrain shadows, but you do have, say, like buildings that cast a shadow as well. And then you have the terrain shadows, like, so if you're in the Grand Canyon, the canyon itself will cast a shadow into the valley of the canyon. You know, all these shadows are off into the distance or beneath your aircraft. There's very little shadows that are in your viewpoint that you can actually see up close with great detail. So you don't need like 4K. Look at that. I mean, that's basically like a 4K resolution right there. It is 2K, but it's what would be used as kind of like a 4K. But you don't need that high resolution. Like if you're on a 1080p monitor, you're not even going to see that detail. That's going to be your setting, or that if you're on a 1080p monitor, probably that one actually. So it's like having that one is like having it on that HD ready monitor. So I'm actually still getting good shadows, but I'm saving so much performance because shadows are everywhere. And that's why I choose the low quality shadows. They're not important to me. I don't want to be seeing great, beautiful, high quality shadows. So I tone down what is not important to me. But what is important to me is the windshield effects. Now, you could say, well, have it on ultra. I don't have a 4K TV. Put it on high, and then I'll actually see the best windshield effects for the performance that it'll take. Ambient inclusion, again, that's kind of like a shadowy lighting value. If I have it on high, it's a bigger frame rate hit than if it's on medium, but the difference between the two visually is negligible. So it's like, that's fine on medium. Same with reflections. Light shafts, again, I'm not that bothered about seeing these God rays filter through the clouds. You know, I'm not here making videos to sell, so I'll have them on low because they don't actually happen that often, but they can, and they will tax your system if they are there. I do put bloom on because I do enjoy it, and depth of field, yes, I put on high because I want to see the depth of field. I want it to look gorgeous because it's actually going to make either my screenshots look gorgeous, or when I actually activate the showcase mode, it's going to look even better, you know. I do put lens correction on, but these next two here are, you don't need either of them, to be honest, because they're nothing to do with the human eye. They're to do with a camera, and we don't have camera eyes. We have human eyes. We don't actually get lens flare in our eyes. You get lens flare because light passing through glass, okay, which creates that lens flare into the iris of the camera. We don't get that effect. Okay, we don't get lens flare. Lens correction, actually, I feel helps it to make it look more real. If you turn it off, there is a difference. So you do get that sort of distortion around the edges a little bit, very minor, but I think it does help to kind of simulate a human eye looking at a particular thing. It just, I feel it looks a little bit better. And of course, I don't want generic plane models. I want to see liveries, basically. So that's basically all the graphical settings, okay? Now, there's a lot of things here, like this one. You can download the SDK if you click that's on. Accessibility, this is to do really with what you see on the UI. There's miscellaneous, like choose a pilot if you want. The flight model, you know, you can either have the FSX version or you can have the 2020 version. Data, now this is the interesting one. What I recommend, guys, is going to your rolling cache limit. Now, I'm going to show you my hard drive. I've got 120 gig free space. Now, I used to have 360 gig free space, but this sim has taken it down to 120, combined with this rolling cache. Now, there is a delete the cache, which if I click it and OK, it's going to take several minutes. It's deleted. If I refresh my thing now, I've now got 170 gig free. And that's because every time you go flying, it keeps a cache of data, and I'm telling it that it's only allowed. We'll put that back on as well, by the way. I'm telling it it's only allowed 50 gig, and that's it. And that way, I know for sure I'm always going to have 100 gig at least free space, and that's what I want. I want at least 100 gig of free space. Why? Because your PC also has a rolling cache, and it needs to fill it with data when you're using add-ons, or when you're using apps, you know. And if you basically have 20 gig free space left on your PC's hard drive, you're gonna find performance issues, and it's nothing to do with the sim, and it's nothing to do with your PC's hardware. It's because your PC can't maintain its own rolling cache, whereas they've given you the option to actually maintain it here, which is pretty good. So stick a value that's manageable on your system. I've chosen 50, and so the rolling cache for my sim will only ever get to 50 gig, and I can delete it if I need to. I mean, I don't know what this view is, but you can actually see what it all is, which I'm not going to go into here, okay? But you can actually see what you've downloaded. So, for instance, if I wanted to fly offline and I didn't want to use the internet, I could download, say, the UK to this, and then just go flying, and it wouldn't matter if my internet was on or off. I could still go flying in the sim. You know, that's the only difference really between people saying it doesn't require the internet to fly. Well, it does, because you still have to download this cache first. You know. Whereas with current sims like P3D, it's all already on the hard drive, the whole world. You don't have to download anything. So back to this menu. Yeah, setting a 50 gig limit here will limit the amount of storage space on your PC that it takes to fly in the sim. Now, you know, areas aren't that big. You know, 50 gig will build up over time instantly, but like a single area like New York is like 10 gig in size, which ain't that big, you know. So have a file size that's manageable, and you can even say where it's going to be. So you can have your rolling cache if you wanted to on a separate SD drive. Obviously, bandwidth you want unlimited, but you can cap it if you're in a household where maybe you haven't got such high speeds and you don't want to be using all of it. But you know, I've got 360 megabyte connection, so I'm pretty much good to go, and therefore I don't want a data limitation either. All of these I have on because at the end of the day, I want everything beautiful and I want everything real. Same with the traffic. Now with the traffic, I'm actually going to turn down these things here. Lower. I'm actually going to put them down to 15 each, because at the end of the day, you know, these are kind of based off big airports. So your vehicle, your ground, and your workers, you know, if you go to Heathrow, then it'll be 50% of what should be there, or 50% of what's possible there. But at the end of the day, if you go to like a smaller airport, you've still got the same amount of people there, and it's like, oh, okay. So I'm going to reduce them down to 15. I do actually do like the ships, ferries, road vehicles, leisure boats. They're fine, and at 50%, there aren't that many vehicles on the roads, so even that's okay. I would suggest putting show traffic nameplates on, because if you're in a multiplayer or in a group setup, it's going to be quite tricky to find them if they're miles away. So if you have their nameplate on, at least you know the general direction to head in. And real-time online is what I want to see. In fact, I don't even know what the options on this are. Offline. Okay, there we go. The sound. Now, the sound is very cool in that if you don't like certain things, you can just turn it off, you know? So, like, the VHF signal degradation, I do like that incorporated in as a customizable feature. Text-to-speech settings are cool. Obviously, you can mute the audio music in the background if you want, and I actually I've turned down the music just for this video, but I have the old legacy FSX style music because that's better than the new stuff. But again, you can also customize the slider settings. So if you feel the engines are too loud or the environment's too loud, you know, then you can actually sort of equalize off everything. So therefore, if you don't want to hear, you know, ATC as loud, or if you don't want to hear them at all, you can literally just go, right, you're nuked, which is a better feature that I don't think this was available in the alpha. I'm not sure. Now, this is the most complicated system for thingy. And to be honest, other people have done it better, so I would suggest go watching them. Like, I might do a video on this on its own, but this one is a really, to get used to, is a different kettle of fish. So I'll probably either leave it to a separate video, or please go and Google, you know, and loads of other people have already tackled this type of video. So we'll apply that and save it, and then going to controls, which is our final destination. Well, yeah, kind of. So it's pretty cool in the fact that it displays everything you've got here. So keyboard, that's not what mine looks like. Mouse, that's not what mine looks like. The SciTech Pro flight quadrant, that's what it looks like. And also the Thrustmaster, that's what it looks like. You know, it's pretty cool that it has all these. What I wish it had, and what I had actually suggested to Asobo, is instead of having, let me just go to all on that, instead of having this monstrous list, right, to go through, and what I recommend first off is going through each one of all of your devices and removing every single button and toggle, and just get a blank slate, like delete them all. Okay, don't reset to default, because it'll come back, but just delete them all and start again and go, right, what do I want this button to do? Right, let me search here. Let's see, whatever, and then it comes up here. Okay, that's much a better way than actually going, right, what have we got here? Hang on, let me get all these all sorted first. It's like, right, landing gear. Okay, I know what button that's gonna be. Right, let me get a landing gear. Where's the landing gear? Right, okay. Yeah, that's more painful, guys. Like, literally, just go, right, this button I want as, and then search it, and it will pop up here. I did actually mention to Asobo that I wish if you clicked on the button, it had a drop down of all the commands with a search function just like this. Now, this search function, by the way, wasn't in the alpha. So I'm glad that they've implemented it in, but I suggested a search function. If you click on the button here, it brings down a little search thing that you could then go, right, I want that, and it will automatically assign it for this. Okay, you don't have to activate the button or anything, but that would be a lot easier than scrolling through this monstrous list. This list should be hidden, I feel. And then what you do is you click on that, and then the list will drop down if this was made bigger, that you can also search by. That for me is an easier thing, because this list here is more overwhelming than all the buttons on this control stick. Like, you know your control stick, you know your throttle quadrant, and if you go, right, I've only got to map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things to this, then that's so much easier. And going, oh shit, where is, hang on, you just search it. Okay, it's just so much easier that way. But this is personal preference, guys. You know, it's absolutely personal preference. The assistant side of it is pretty much like, how do you want your flying to go? You know, I've turned off quite a lot of things, you know, but I've allowed some things, you know. So it's like, it depends. If you're a newbie, then turn everything on in piloting. Aircraft systems, everything to auto. Failures, always turn them off. Always turn them off, even if you're not wanting to thingy, because as soon as you touch something in the sim, your aircraft will damage and it'll kick you out the game. Nav aids, you know, some are turned off, and this is mainly for the world map. No notifications, you know, I've only turned one of them on, and user experience, this is all to do with the UI, really. So a lot of this can be tailored, and I do like it. I wish there was a little bit more tailor making, but it is what it is. It's absolutely fine. I do like it, and I can't wait to meet everybody in the virtual skies. That's it for this video, guys. I will be bringing up in the next couple of weeks footage of when I first tried the alpha, and you can see the difference between me using an alpha and the, you know, like, if you got, I don't know, do you guys really want me to use this on my YouTube channel? Let me know. You know, are you happy with the P3D? Because I am. World Tour, you know, and the virtual pilot life, that's fine for me. But do you guys want to see some fun stunts in the, you know, the Microsoft Flight Sim world? Like, I would never use this for virtual pilot life or World Tour. I would never use this as a serious sim. I would only use this to do cool stuff in. So if you want to see that, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see everybody next time. Take care. Bye-bye.